many fans you are in this shit.
Hello and welcome back to coverage of the PCS Open 2023. This is round 1 back 9 MPO feature card coverage brought to you by MDG Media at Øverås Diskgolfpark, and we have a star-studded lineup here as we take a look at these final 9 holes of round 1. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What is up, viewers? Nice to be here once again. Let's take a look at the top 10 scores. Nobody from our card made the top 10 on the front 9. We saw some solid play from all of Anthony Barela, Joona Heinänen and Ricky Wysocki. But the field playing even better as we see that Calvin Heimberg leading 7 under score, bunch of 6 unders, bunch of 5 unders. Really some good scores by the field, huh?
Yeah, very attackable course, and if you have a good touch, some good technical shot shaping skills, very easy to rack up the birdies. Tell us about hole 10, Elias.
Yeah, talking about shot shaping, that's what you need on this hole. It's 111 meters. Pretty weird shaped hole. You need to make a sharp turn to the left at about 50 or 60 meters and then continue on that left curve for about 30 meters and then even turn a little bit right at the end. So most players are trying to play some sort of a low skipping hyzer. Really difficult to get inside the circle here. So most players playing to that circle 2 area and hopefully make a long putt.
And the back 9 slightly harder to score on than the front 9 statistically. We'll see these players best in the world tested. Joona getting us started here, pushing it a touch straight, but will be left with a long look for his birdie.
Yeah, pretty common result there. Really difficult to get that left turn in time. Let's see if Ricky goes with a steeper angle here. Looks like he does with a more overstable disc too. That is pretty much the perfect shot and still, I believe, outside the circle.
Very nicely done. Anthony Barela once again looking for the overhead shot. He pulled it out earlier in the front 9. He's going to be looking to shape this thumber here. It's going to flip and then spike down. This shape likes to go first to the left and then downwards to the right. So he gives this one tons of height on quite a vertical angle. He's going to look to have a full flight and crash something down. And spooking the cameraman, I think he's made his way, although probably still in the woods, up there towards a putt as well.
I believe the thumber must be one of the top 3 hardest shots to film in disc golf. You can see Catchcam having a little bit of trouble with that. Jakub taking the alternative route. That's a really tight shot. There's not a lot of ceiling to go high, but he does crash the trees near the basket. And I believe he's also in circle 2. So good result there.
Yeah, even some great and well-executed lines still leaving themselves very far. Joona up first, giving himself just the pitch up. Leaves it a little bit shorter than I think he would be comfortable looking to have a tap in 3, but he's a great circle 1 putter, and I'm sure he'll have a solid chance to execute that putt. We see AB here working on the stance. A lot of shrubbery in his way.
Yeah, very makeable putt here, especially with that strong spin putt that he has. Wow, incredible make.
From the woods, a compromised stance, circle 2. His putters are looking pretty clean today, and you see the confidence there. We get to take another look at that from a different angle. Had a fairly wide gap, tons of spin and pace, giving it the height, crashes in just in time. Wasn't going anywhere other than in. Another great circle 2 putt for Anthony Barela.
Let's see if Ricky can match that. We actually saw 3 outside circle putts from Ricky in the front 9. That's another very strong effort. You can see he's not happy with it. As he shouldn't be. He's one of the better putters on tour.
Speaking of strong putters, Jakub Semerád, 2022's World Putting Champion. He's had some struggles here today, but we know he has it, and just a little bit high on that bid, similar to Ricky's catching the band. This is Joona for his par.
Strong focus here. You can see that very direct putting motion from Joona. Not much movement from the elbow, just back and forth. Pretty good score from the group here to get that one birdie and nobody running into trouble. I believe this hole was a new addition for this year's tournament layout for the PCS Open. Definitely still, fairway isn't really worn out yet to make it easy, but maybe in the upcoming years we will see more birdies and a bit of a better play from the field. I think it's a very new hole and field hasn't quite figured it out yet.
Yeah, and AB entering that 15% of the field who was able to birdie hole 10. We move to 11.
Hole 11, much more of a simple hole, although it does have its dangers. Whole area that we're flying over right now is hazard. You can see the yellow stakes lining the hazard island. Everything inside the stakes is inbounds, everything else is hazard. Players are trying to throw left to right moving shots, either a big forehand or a controlled turnover. Most players going with a forehand only have really that one big pine tree at the end, limiting that forehand flight.
So we see some deliberation from the card.
Like that.
Oh, there are 2 holes.
Yeah.
Oh.
AB gonna get us started on 11. Opting for the backhand.
Yeah, pretty surprising here. He's got that big forehand as well in his arsenal. But look at that shot. Beautiful angle control. Just hits the edge of that last guardian tree. Inbounds though, and within putting range for sure.
Ricky also shaping the backhand. As you mentioned, it's quite a friendly left to right shape. Both of those guys with incredible forehand capabilities, but both of them opting to shape this turnover flight. And Ricky battling, actually bouncing off that yellow marker, looking to have found that hazard.
Yeah, pretty
so
surprised.
Close to battling back in bounds.
That's very surprising to see both Ricky and AB going for the backhand. And you can see how much backhand brings the hazard into play if you don't turn it to the right. Wow,
Joona
and
going
Joona too.
extremely high. I think with that putter, he's really comfortable shaping it on that long Anheuser flight, but significantly nose up there. Difficult to have that turning the whole way. You'll see Jakub, another strong forehand player, looking for this touchy backhand line as he also pushes that back tree line. Look at the shape and the touch, the distance. Everything is right about that, and he has it parked bullseye's edge.
Really learning from the other competitors' mistakes there, making sure to turn that disc over, not let it fade out. Joona here, very difficult putt for the par. Opts to just layup. This is one of the windier greens on the course, but you can see it's a pretty calm day. The flag on top of the basket, not really moving at all. There was only some little gusts of wind throughout the day, and mostly pretty much almost dead calm.
Very rare in the valleys and fjords of Norway to have a dead calm day. Some beautiful scoring conditions for our field, and Ricky with a great putt to save his par. I think another outside the circle look for him. Very reliable. Anthony from inside the circle for his birdie.
He had a great kick from that branch of the pine tree and taking advantage. That's a sign of a great player, you know, getting a little bit lucky and capitalizing on the opportunity.
Jakub with the absolute tap-in dissected this hole.
Yeah, Jakub having a bit more of a shaky round than the other competitors, but looking to score on this back nine. It's definitely possible, although more difficult than on the front nine. And talking about difficult, hole 12, par 4, 212 meters. Your drive has to be very precise. players are trying to throw some sort of a left to right moving shot, you can either throw a mid-range or a putter to this short landing zone about right here, or if you're feeling aggressive, you can try to throw a flex shot with a driver, try to skip it around the corner into this bigger landing zone. From there, whether you have a short or a long drive, you can either throw a straight low shot through the gap that the drone is flying, hopefully find yourself inside this OB island, or if you have a huge forehand, we see many players going for a big forehand hyzer over the top for the approach.
Hole 12, by far the hardest statistically. Interesting to note there was an equal percentage of pars, bogeys, and double bogeys.
That's a very interesting stat. And looks like AB is finding an alternative route, going for a huge spike hyzer from the back edge of the tee pad. Wow, that's in good position. Surprising play, honestly.
If you can eliminate the risk of the initial tunnel, ensuring that you get distance with the spike hyzer, I do understand the motivation. We'll see what he's left with. I think it's very difficult to land reliably in the same spot with that line, but ensuring he makes some progress and crashing the trees. Jakub to be looking, shaping the more traditional line down this tunnel, mid-range in his hand.
Yep, pretty good shot there, but turns it over just a little bit more than he would like. He's gonna have to deal with a few of those right side trees on the next shot. I would guess likely to have to just lay up to the edge of the safe landing zone there. And Ricky actually pulls it right. He has kicked left, and that's a terrible spot to be. He's gonna have a big decision to make, whether he wants to go aggressive or very safe from there.
I think knowing the difficulties of this hole, he can still pitch out and look to play for par and have a great result. Joona, just a little bit of a late release, not quite hitting that tunnel, and he kicks left as well. Both him and Ricky will have a lot of distance to contend with and no real gaps depending on how far into the woods. Ricky's got the straddle out forehand here, going to be playing a pitch shot up to the opening, giving himself a chance to cross towards the green. This is a nice touchy anhyzer around the corner.
Yeah, that's
Beautiful.
really well done. Really well done from Ricky there. He's gonna have just a regular approach to the green, which is still not easy. I believe Joona trying to do something similar here.
The rare forehand from him, but he likes to use it for scramble and position shots, and he's done just that. Able to rely on it as well for the shorter distances. Jakub looking like he's trying to get an aggressive run up here. Likely has a look towards the green. An aggressive turning over line. This looks to be nicely aimed. Oh, and he fires long of the basket into the water.
Wow, that's a crazy shot. How was he able to get that much distance with the difficult run up? Almost throwing it in and gliding over the basket. That was an incredible shot. He's gonna have a par putt from edge of the circle there. And looks like AB is going aggressive with the forehand. Has to go standstill. This is gonna be a good look to see how much power he creates to that forehand.
He's crushed this high and wide, looking to swing the hyzer over the tree line and crashing into the green. He looks to be just within the circle, putting for birdie on a hole that averages over 5, so at least taking one stroke on the field, if not more. Great shot and a good game plan from him. Played the spike hyzer into spike forehand, and he's right up there. A nice way to navigate this tough hole. Joona now.
This needs to stay up to get to the island, and it just barely does. Not a particularly easy putt from there, but I'm sure Joona is happy after that release just to be in bounds there. Ricky is going for the traditional low approach to the green with a sidearm. Needs to get through some trees though. And he has found the OB. I believe he might have never even crossed in bounds. Let's see whether they give Ricky the spot on this side or the other side of the OB. And yes, he has to go short. That's a crucial error there. Easily a one-stroke swing.
Absolutely. He still has to cross. And you see him leaving himself with a tester 8 or 9 meters remaining. Snuck his way into the circle and onto the green though.
Yeah, hole 12 showing off some of that teeth it has. Let's see if Joona is able to give it a good bid for the par here. A good bid.
Nice chance. Yeah, it's very common on these par 4s that requires both a great tee shot or a great approach, and hole 12 definitely requires both if you want any chance for the birdie. A lot of players happy to walk away with a 4. Jakub, another great line, but just a little bit too high with that spin putt style. You can see it's just a horizontal line to the chains, and unfortunately in that one, the band. This is AB for birdie. Incredible.
That's a crazy birdie to get, and I believe very suitable for his, regular style of play. Just go huge spike hyzer and then another just huge hyzer with the forehand. Ricky there with a good cleanup for the double bogey. Really setting him back off the pace of the field. AB really only player on the card that is scoring great right now. These other guys really need to pick it up on this back 9 if they want to be in contention for the win at this event.
There's a lot of golf left to play. We'll see if they can pick up the momentum.
Moving on to hole 13. Very long, quite an open par 4. It's 22 meters, excuse me. Off the drive, players have a choice either to go through the low gap or go completely above all the trees. You're trying to land somewhere near this ditch, ideally. It's a mark of a huge drive if you get it into the ditch. From there, it's a pretty simple shot. Whether you land on the fairway or off the fairway, you usually have a pretty good spike hyzer look to the green. Most players preferring that high spike hyzer over the low shot, since the trees are pretty low and there's pretty much nothing in the way for the spike hyzer. This is a good hole to kind of let loose and show some of that distance. I'm sure AB is definitely one of the players who enjoys doing that.
Up first, we see him on a hyzer release with a ton of height, flipping it up to flat and turning our cameraman around. Bombs away here on 13. He is battling that right side OB line, but unclear from that angle if he has kept it safe regardless. A ton of distance there up the fairway.
Yeah, it's really hard for the viewers to understand how big that shot is. I believe it is about 170 to 180 meters in distance there. Just compare it with Jakub's very good drive here. Still 30 meters short of AB. That's pretty much perfect position there in the middle of the fairway. Gonna have just an 80 meter spike hyzer from there.
Joona also with some great power on his backhand. We'll see how much he chooses to bite off. Similar line to AB, going hyzer release very high and pushing this one. Also flipping the cameraman, and he is just up there between Jakub and AB's drives. Ricky here, he's another player who could potentially get some huge distance between Ricky and AB. I think some of the top 10 in the world in terms of on-course distance.
Yeah, looks like he has thrown this very hard. Needs to finish left though. And wow, that's a very impressive drive. Flying over the ditch that we talked about. That's only about 60 meters left to the basket from there.
These guys are throwing absolute bombs off the tee. We'll see Jakub up first with a great drive, still going first here. And he's pushed that right side rough, catching some branches, has come down into the fairway, I believe. Spotter hustling gives him a green flag.
Looks like Joona might be aiming for that lower shot. Goes with a medium height one, pretty much straight to the basket. You can see that beautiful touch and great spin he's got on the disc, really able to push it all the way over the basket with that soft throw.
Ricky here as well with a smooth release. Just pinning it. That is a nice shot there. Amazing off the tee and just as good on the upshot. Should be a tap in birdie. AB here pushing down this right side entrance to the green and also giving it that soft bit. The back slope going uphill, allowing them to get aggressive and try to drain it from way out. We see Jakub up first now for putting.
Yeah, both Ricky and AB had so much distance off the tee that didn't really have a reason to go for that spike hyzer anymore, just an easy putter shot. Jakub here. Good inside the circle putt there. Getting his score back to even par after an absolute roller coaster of a round so far.
And I think that that's Jakub's game. He's a very aggressive player. He goes for everything. He's not one to often lay up putts, and he's a ride or die sort of disc golfer. And you see that in his roller coaster of a round. AB coming back for birdie. Par, rather. He did go OB off the tee, but still in 3 throws. Well done. Even just drove it a little bit too long, if anything. Could have faded out a touch earlier.
Yeah, I can tell you there is not a lot of players in the world that would even think about that long OB, yet finding it in a tournament setting. As we see 3 birdies by the card and only the lone par by AB. Walking up the hill to hole 14. Pretty challenging par 3 here. It's 124 meters, just slightly downhill. Need to throw either a straight forehand that fades to the right at the end, or if you're more of a backhand thrower, need to throw something perfectly straight with just a touch of turn at the end. It's pretty fast green for the backhand and is sloping from right to left. So forehand playing much better to the angle of the green. Let's see what these players can do. Jakub obviously going for that backhand as he's not a huge forehand player.
Yeah, he has a great command of the disc and the shapes. Loves to get that anhyzer release and play the soft flex. As we see him coming out just a touch early, but the distance looks to be spot on. Will have a lateral putt going softly uphill from about circle's edge.
Yeah, really, that was a good line from Jakub, but you can see he got the disc pretty high up in the air. I believe height control is so crucial in this shot. Let's see if you can see Joona getting it much lower, almost a little bit too low there, hitting those rocks about 30 meters short of the hole.
Yeah, very important to get the right height to ensure that you turn throughout the flight. If anything, just a small fade at the end. Ricky looking to play his signature power forehand hyzer, but with a very early and low release. Will still be left with about 40 or 50 meters to the pin. AB looking to make the correction now, putting together a solid round. This is another one that would go a long way if he could snag the birdie. It's a lot of distance for the forehand, and this is very high.
Yeah, not really great forehands from either Ricky or AB. It's a good hole to pick up some strokes on the field if you have that strong forehand, but both of these forehand veterans not really performing. Ricky at least with a good approach there, and AB also should have a pretty routine shot to the basket from there.
Yeah, these guys are really smooth from this distance, and you see them able to give it a run and keep it fairly close to the basket. Speaks to their touch and finesse, really showing that they have the power on the long distance as well as the short game. That's what happens when you're playing with the best in the world, you get a complete skill set. And they're showing it off here today. We see Joona from a similar distance giving it the floaty bid. And a nice chance as well.
Let's see if Jakub can pick up the only birdie on the card here. It is definitely one of the more difficult birdies on the course as he draws the top band there. It's not a huge lot of trouble on this hole. Many people are taking par, but birdie definitely requires almost a perfect shot, especially if you're throwing that backhand.
Yeah, and he's been on the band so many times today. Just centimeters difference could be 4 to 6 strokes swing in Jakub's round. As you see, he's currently sitting at even. These players all collecting their pars, as our feature card has a par frame on 14. Only 14% of the field able to find the birdie, 77% par with very few bogeys, so an easy 3 but a tough 2.
Talking about tough, hole 15 is exactly that. Really long par 4, you can see that OB line on the left and on the right. 258 meters. Players are looking to throw a turnover distance drive off the tee. This OB is pinching at about 150 meters, so exactly where most players land with their regular distance shots. If you throw your perfect drive to 150 meters, you have a choice of either going with a forehand hyzer or a backhand hyzer over the trees to this island green. Even with the raised green, it's one of the more beautiful long open par 4s I have ever played. Rewards big distance. You know, some of these players like AB who can comfortably throw it over that 150 meter mark don't really have to worry that much about the pinch point in the fairway.
You can see from this angle that slight uphill contributing to an even more difficult distance required off the tee. Jakub Semerád. A
Jakub.
long pushing straight flight and will be safely before that pinch point, not getting too aggressive there, playing a placement shot and executing, I'm sure, his game plan.
Yeah, I believe Jakub probably going for the par there, as looks like he was only throwing a mid-range. So par is a very good score on this hole, although the conditions were pretty favorable. It was either calm or a bit of a tailwind even, helping these long distance lines like Joona is doing, but he has turned this over too much, challenging the right side OB, and he never comes out of the anhyzer. He's gonna have a decision to make from there, whether he wants to go for the green on the third shot after the OB stroke or not.
Ricky here, we mentioned his power off the tee as well. Looking like he's got a high-speed disc in his hand. He's going to look to crush this one on a distance line. But similar to Joona, gets a significant turnover, but so low he actually cut rolls back into the fairway. Just a touch higher, and that could have easily been well OB. So a fortunate result on a bit of a misrelease for Ricky.
Yeah, and a very good result. I think Ricky might still have a chance for the birdie. Let's see if AB can just rip one here. Looks like he's not turning it over too much, that's for sure. Once again flying over the catch cam. And even though he's gone super far, he has actually faded out left. Not gonna be a very long approach from there, but I'm sure he's bummed with that OB stroke.
Yeah, I think he was trying to absolutely crush that one. Sometimes players will sacrifice a little bit of accuracy in order to get that huge drive, but you see the demanding Øverås punishing players for getting too aggressive. Jakub here playing another placement shot, as you mentioned, just playing for the 4 at this point. And fair enough, this hole did average 4.57 on the day, so still going to be good to the field. And Joona here, this is his second throw, but third stroke. Looks like he's trying to put it close.
Yeah, very aggressive shot. Needs to get over all of the trees. And he has actually landed inside the island. He's outside the circle on the lower level of the green, not quite on the top there, but very good shot from where he was. I believe that was about 140 meters to the green.
We'll see Ricky here go for that power forehand. He's sending this one high and wide on a one-angle hyzer, trying to push as much distance as he can, but does not cross over. I think once again finding himself with a penalty stroke there, looking a bit deflated. Ricky Wysocki finding some trouble here on 15.
That was a very ambitious shot. Still had about 135 meters to go with that huge sidearm hyzer. And you can see AB is throwing, I believe, just a fairway driver sidearm here. Great shot. Just stays on the edge of the green. Should have a pretty simple par there.
Ricky with a great adjustment there from where he crossed. Once again on the short side, not able to take the benefit of going over. He puts it close, and Jakub as well with a very overstable disc on hyzer the whole way. Little roll, but just a very healthy distance remaining. Should be no problem for him. This is Joona now, a big moment. This is a par save off a full scramble. Doesn't quite find it, but good to give himself a chance.
Looks like AB also just barely rolled off the edge of the green here. But not a long putt, and he makes it. Keeping that 6 under round alive. It's a very, very solid score. As we have seen by the card, this course can easily bite you if you're a little bit off.
Absolutely, and Jakub puts that one in. AB once again on these par 4s has done it in 3 throws, but with 1 penalty stroke. You can see he's getting aggressive on some of the most difficult holes, given his distance. A great tool to have here, as we see Joona and Ricky pick up their bogeys. Jakub and AB with the pars. No birdies found here on 15.
Yep, it's a very difficult hole. If somebody would get the birdie, it would definitely be one of these guys. Making our way into the hole 16. Bit of a shorter par 4 this time, only 185 meters. Off the drive, you're trying to throw over this ridge. Missed this tree on the left, just to the right. You need something that goes straight and turns a little bit to the right at the end. Ideal landing spot is right about here. If you get the perfect drive, it's one of the touchier approaches on the course as far as speed control, because the OB long and left of the basket is well inside the circle, and the grass on this hole for some reason is extremely skippy, maybe because of the slight downhill grade of the approach. Many
Hole
players.
16, we have Jakub up first here, again leaning on that mid-range. He's been throwing it quite reliably all day and really leaning on it for these placement trusty shots.
He puts it on a little bit of a heavy anhyzer angle there. It's important to remember that on this hole you don't need to be too far right, you need to really be just straight and with the slightest finish to the right. Looks like AB is holding a driver in his hand, possibly going with a more aggressive shot.
Watch out, spectators, as that is coming in hot. A significant turnover, catches it on edge as it cut rolls left OB. Anthony getting really aggressive and paying the price. Not sure how much distance he has either. That was very low to the ground. Joona now playing with more height and this softly turning shot right down the fairway. Very smooth.
That was beautiful from Joona, showing off that control he has with the slow discs. And Ricky going with the unconventional forehand here. Forehand pretty easily fades too far right, but he has hit early some of the branches there. Both AB and Ricky might have this left side forehand hyzer open. Let's see if they take it. They have made it past the Mando that is early on the fairway, so all sorts of forehand hyzers are open here. Ricky looks to be playing it pretty safe, well short of the basket, but he's made it inbounds and should be an easy par from there.
And over the gallery, AB as well needing to throw out that left side with the forehand hyzer, but looks to have more distance. He just barely sneaks back in bounds off that last branch. Good to find himself hopefully safe and not accrue too many penalty strokes. We see Jakub here with some tricky footing and a tight gap, a very specific shape he'll need to hit now if he wants to find that birdie.
Wow, that was beautiful. Beautiful touch. You can see he landed that disc almost flat with just the slightest hyzer angle, really removing all the skip that very often happens on this hole if you land with more hyzer than that. That's what I would expect from this shot from Joona, and you can see that landing 20 meters short, still almost skipping to the edge of the circle.
We'll be left with an outside the circle look, but AB up first here to continue his clean back nine, but you see how much distance he's left himself with an incredibly ambitious putt. And he almost finds it just off the cage. He's looking incredibly good from that 20 meter or so range. And even with the tough shape around the branches and low ceiling, he finds a way to give it a chance. Ricky also with a good bid, really pushing that late OB behind the basket, but curling up safe in time.
This is a big chance for Joona. Hopefully get that birdie, and he does. Beautiful flight of the putter. We really had a good look at it. He's putting it over the basket with that late drop perfectly in the middle of the chains. I'm sure he's happy about that, especially with the tough back nine that he's having. Still gonna be +1 on the back nine after a good -4 front nine.
Ricky there securing his par. AB coming back now, finding a bogey. Caught the penalty stroke off the tee shot. And although he's been fairly clean, we've mentioned he's been throwing really huge drives, but finding the OB on almost every second hole. You see him let out a deep sigh. We have only 2 holes left to go of this Øverås layout. 17's the one you can find the birdie on. Tell us about it, Elias.
Yep, definitely one of the more birdieable holes on the course. Par 4 with only 155 meters of distance. But there's an option to either bite a lot of distance off the tee or play it a little bit safer. Both options are available, and in both cases you have to throw some sort of an anhyzer or turnover backhand or a high hyzer forehand. From there, whether you get further or shorter down the fairway, you are left with right finishing approach up the hill with a pretty good backstop. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys even gave it a good run for the eagle on the second shot.
Definitely with their distance it could come into play. Jakub still holding the box. Going really high with the anhyzer, ensuring he battles up the hill and actually playing over the height of some of those trees. And check out the full flight into the open. That's one way to do it.
Yep. Very important to go high with the turnover here, because there's that OB on the far side of the fairway. So if you push your turnover too far straight, you're found in the OB. Joona there with a great angle. Gets good distance, I believe, still going with the mid-range there. He's gonna have a straight to slightly right finishing approach from there.
Ricky looking for the same line. You see these guys eyeing up to the sky. Getting that long sustained turn, and he is also right there in the sweet spot, wide open. Great angle integrity from all of those drives, ensuring that the turn is the majority of the flight, and AB looking to make the same line.
Yep, it's a pretty simple shot, as these guys are making it look like. Might look flashy on camera with that high turnover flight, but really you just need to throw it high and let the disc go to the right. And everybody is pretty much in the prime position here. Now all about hitting this gap between the two trees and turning your disc slightly to the right.
You said it, and Jakub does it to perfection there on the upshot. Jakub will have a tap-in birdie. A great tone to set for this feature card. Being up first, he shows them exactly how it's done. Joona going a little bit wider with a touch more turn, and he's right up there as well. As we mentioned, one of the more attackable holes, 17, had a 51% birdie rate. Rare to see more than half the field birdie a hole.
Yeah, but I can see that happening on this hole. As we said, it's a pretty simple shot from the tee, and AB actually is pinched on the right side, having to go with a huge hyzer forehand. Just parks it next to the basket, once again showing off that big power he's got on both sides.
Ricky still leaning on that backhand, shaping it around the corner, sends it a touch long, but keeping it inside the circle. We will be looking at the potential for a star frame if this card can make all of their putts now.
Yeah, really, Ricky, the only one with a significant putt left here. He's going back down the hill, so important to hit the basket here. Of course he does, as he's a great putter, pushing his score back to 3 under. I'm sure he's not happy with that score going into 18, but a lot worse could happen on this course.
As we see some birdie cleanups now. Definitely one they need to get if they want to maintain pace with the top of the field. But at that front 9 check-in, we saw some players were already 7 under. Calvin leading the field through that. Back 9 is significantly more troublesome. You can get some strokes away from that under par range, but we'll check the standings after this final hole here.
Yeah, hole 18. A par 4 lined with OB. You can see that OB line starting on the left side, coming into play also on the right, just behind these bushes. Off the drive, you're trying to land somewhere around here, either with the forehand, or if you're feeling aggressive, you can go with the backhand turnover. The approach, you're going through this very skinny fairway, trying to hit the gap between the INNOVA banners on the right and left side, and a beautiful basket position on top of an old tractor. Once again on the green, the OB is actually inside the circle on pretty much all sides, so you need to be very precise on this shot. Forehand is really the common play of the tee if you want to get a lot of distance and not risk the OB too much.
Yeah, beautiful and iconic hole here, overlooking the valley, the tractor basket, and a great story was told here during that battle showdown between Jakub and Greg in last year's coverage. A very exciting hole and can absolutely play as a score separator.
Looks like Joona is going for the aggressive backhand shot, going almost full power here. That's a good angle there. Doesn't get the full distance, and you can see that this cuts rolling towards OB. That is a good position though. Only about 90 meters to the basket left from there.
Yeah, I like his option of, if he is going to throw the backhand, playing something very understable to ensure that he's not contesting the hillside and the OB. Ricky there with a power forehand hyzer there, sneaking it into a great spot.
And AB, once again, might have a bit of a distance advantage here. You can see he's going very high with the overstable disc, but actually does not go around the corner. That's a pretty surprising error there. He comes out of the bush though, gonna still have a shot to the basket.
And Jakub didn't quite get around this bush now. Has to shape something quite awkwardly, and I think still going for the green. A severe Anheuser release angle, and he sneaks under the banners. What a line! Positioning himself for birdie from an incredibly difficult position. Smooth operator, Jakub Semerád. Wow.
Wow, that was one of the luckier shots we are probably gonna see on this hole, going under the banner. There's no more than maybe 40 centimeters of space under that banner, so that's a crazy break from Jakub. I'm sure he's happy about it, has a chance to go 3 under on this very difficult round for him. Let's see if AB goes for the green here. Looks like he's doing it, going with the high forehand. Hyzer once again, and he has just crushed it fully over the green area, but gonna have that edge of the circle putt since the OB is so close to the basket.
Spectator on crutches there. You don't want to see AB's drive coming in too hot into the gallery, but he'll be left with a reasonable putt. Joona here pushing it too far straight, bouncing off the right side and crossing over the line on the left side. He will also be up there from the green about 12 meters. This is Ricky from an ideal tee shot and a pretty ideal approach as he sneaks his way up there as well. Crazy to see Jakub's shot as he was the furthest back off the tee, actually ending closest of the bunch after his second. Joona now to save par.
And this is just
4 under.
This is just a great spot to make a big putt on the final hole, as he does. Great delivery on the low left side of the basket. It's really set up for a big crowd here. You can see all the people on the second floor of the house even. Really awesome atmosphere on this final hole. Let's see if AB can also save that par.
Definitely no shortage of disc golf players, disc golf fans, and enthusiasts in Norway. A great community there, thriving. And AB's putt clean off the OB saves the par as he secures his 6 under round 1.
Yeah, that's a solid round. Probably not going to be quite on the lead card, but a very good start. And Ricky there finishing with the birdie, pushing his score to 4 under, which is manageable, but I'm sure he wanted a lot better than that.
Jakub capitalizing off an insane approach shot from a compromised position, secures an amazing 3, and great to see him have a strong finish, getting the final 3 holes, 16, 17, and 18, after a roller coaster of a front 9. That is round 1. So we take a look at the top 10 standings. We see 3 players tied in first: Paul Macbeth, James Proctor, and Calvin Heimberg. Tied in fourth, Eagle McMahon and the up-and-coming Swedish superstar Hjalmar Fredriksson. That young man putting on some great performances here in Europe. Joey Tamale in the solo 6th place, with Garrett Gerthy, Paul Ulibarri, Anthony Barela, Matt Bell, and potentially others tied in 7th at 6 under, only 3 strokes separating our top 10.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching this round 1 of the PCS Open. Thank you from me and Connor, and we're gonna see you on the chase card of round 2. See you guys there. Leave us a comment. What did you think about the coverage? What do you think about the course? Thank you, Connor, and see you guys in round 2.
Thank you, Elias. It was a pleasure.